Chapter 5 is finally out, and for the first time since Part 2's launch, I don't really have much to say. This chapter seemed pretty clear-cut, and the mysteries that are shown are not enough for a whole video. I do have one little mini theory, but I'm sorry if this video seems a bit lackluster. As always though, what I have to say revolves around these two, and because I make so many videos on them, I decided to make a whole playlist containing every video I made on them. If you want to join me on the journey of finding out the truth behind these two, now is the perfect chance to do it. The main cast finally met Ajita in the main story. After 4 chapters of being suspicious in secret, she has now graduated into being openly suspicious. At least it's a bit different. The very first thing she does is secretly tail the main cast and then separate us. I don't think any other villain has put the entire main cast on edge that quickly before. I'm kind of impressed. Ajita tries to act like she doesn't know who Dreamseeker is and examines her, but that's not exactly convincing when her name is on an error report regarding the Dreamseeker system, and the programming language for Dreamseeker is literally called Ajita++. You're going to have to try harder than that. I know Layla is confirmed to be the one giving Dreamseeker tasks, but with all these other clues, you just have to think that Ajita also has something to do with her. Moving on from Dreamseeker, as I mentioned, she also separated the cast using a dimension beacon, which we learn was one of her gadgets this entire time. Helia and Coralie were transported to a different part of Lankchu, but it looks familiar for all the wrong reasons. There are shadows everywhere, everything looks bleak, the buildings are dilapidated, and there are red splotches on the ground signifying the Sea of Data is trying to take over. It looks like the previous open world. Ajita didn't just send them to a different part of Lankchu, she sent them back to the future. And great Scott, her plane went off without a hitch. The question is how though? How did Ajita do this? Better yet, how does Ajita 100 years in the past know about Lankchu 100 years in the future? That's about all for Ajita though, so moving on to Baiji. He gets a lot of character development in this chapter with a super emotional past involving his sister and Ajita, what are you doing here? This part is supposed to be about Baiji, not you. You can't just butt into an emotional Looks like we aren't done talking about Ajita. Attention hog. Ajita is at Thelema's birthday party, and when the dog starts to make a ruckus, as always, Bailin talks to her asking if she's seen him. She says that he made off with the thing she was admiring. The thing that she was admiring was a Jade plaque, which is interesting since it's a very important ticket to the Ten Shoes War. Even more interesting though, before we give the Jade plaque back to her, Bailin says, "I'll get it back for you," and Ajita says, "No need, I have plenty of those." What? Ajita has plenty of Jade plaques. How did she obtain them? The Jade plaques have to be handed out by Litost, and I'm assuming it's one person each. But she has multiple. Furthermore, as soon as the team mentioned that they were going to get a Jade plaque, Ajita started tailing them. She clearly has something to do with the Jade plaques that she's not telling us. Combining this with Helia and Coralie teleporting back into the shadow-infested Lankchu, it's clear that Ajita has some powers or some special influence that she won't tell us about. Perhaps she's one of the gods, but that's up for you to decide. Alright, if we have no more rude interruptions, we can finally talk about Baiji. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I have been antagonizing Baiji since chapter 3, but after this chapter I have to remove him from the chopping block. He seems to have been in Lankchu for a while and is a genuinely compassionate person. I revoke any accusation I made about him before this. But Captain, you may be asking, we can't forget that he's still working with Ajita. They still have some sort of partnership that we don't know about. That's suspicious. We can't just mark Baiji off just because of one sad backstory. While you are right, I think Baiji is a victim of something more horrible than we ever could have imagined. Let's go back to Ajita for a second, more specifically that scene at Thelema's birthday party. I thought it was so weird that Ajita was there. Other than the Jade plaque thing, we get no extra information about her or why she's there, and she stuck out like a sore thumb. I started to question what the purpose of that scene was. That's when I realized the obvious. We are playing as Baylane in this scene, meaning Ajita knows about Baylane, and most importantly, knows that Baylane is Baiji's younger sister, which could mean she also knows about Baylane's tragic death. And since Ajita's attitude towards Baiji has been nothing short of abusive, that's not a very good thing. Let's look at this line from chapter 3 again. We are in a mutually beneficial partnership where each of us can obtain something we want from the other. When I looked at this line previously, I focused on what Ajita wants, but what does Baiji want? When Baiji takes the blame for plan A, Ajita says, "I knew you'd say that. You are a prime example of a man who is a slave to responsibility." That clearly strikes a chord with Baiji as he pauses for a moment before moving on. Baylane's last words to Baiji was that he will do amazing things and for Baiji to live on for her and her mom. Geez, Baiji, that's a lot of responsibility to carry alone. Ajita wouldn't be painting the death of his sister over his head now, would she? She's not using emotional blackmail to have power over him to make him do what she wants. Sure, when Ajita asks about Baiji's health and Baylane says that it's getting worse, Ajita says such a talented person, what a pity, confirming that maybe she doesn't really care about Baiji's well-being but his talents. But that's just Ajita being silly, right? Because that would be an absolutely deplorable thing to do. I don't think she's holding this against him only to do what she told Baiji to do in chapter 3, told with the biggest quotation marks. Let's go back to chapter 4. In the air report, Ajita actually talks about a second person. However, in last week's devs review, Blank demanded the inclusion of a new gender. There is a second person with her working on Dreamseeker. That could be Layla because it's confirmed she's also a part of it, but there's more. When Dreamseeker decides to go to the Soul Healing Center again, she finds that it's closed, and as she's questioning someone as to why, Vita accidentally speaks out loud, and when she does, she refers to the doctor as a he, not a she. This could be a translation error, and you know what? That's fair. We know Hoyo's English translation isn't the best, and it wouldn't be the first time I freaked out over a mistranslation, but may I remind you that we still don't know how Baiji crafted the prophetic dream in Dreamseeker's mind? That is a power that only Dreamseeker has, yet Baiji can take advantage of that somehow. I know what you guys are thinking. How can Baiji be a doctor if he doesn't know how to drink bubble tea? And to that I say, just let the old geezer have this. He's had it rough. I feel like Ajita didn't just force him to act out plan A, but she's also forced him to take part in the creation of Dreamseeker. That's it. That's the whole video, guys. Again, sorry if it's a bit lackluster compared to my other theory videos, but this chapter didn't have a whole lot for me to work with, and that's okay. Not every chapter is going to have some incredible secret to uncover. I'm actually not 100% on this theory yet because I still don't know what Baiji wants out of this mutually beneficial relationship. My only thought is that Baiji wants immortality, like he said at the end of the Bailing segment, and since Ajita has a ton of Jade plaques, maybe that's what incentivized him to work with Ajita? I don't really know though, so comment down below if you have any different ideas or different theories. If you liked this video, why not subscribe? It will help out the channel immensely, and I do Honkai theories like this one all the time. That's about it for me though. I will see you in the next video.